Welcome everyone to my live stream and wanting to jump in the mix and lend my support to those looking to learn more about how I color grade my footage in DaVinci Resolve. I am working on an older version. I haven't upgraded my CPU or Windows and will be doing so later this year. A little bit about me: I'm a video producer out of Illinois and have worked on various projects from short films, demo reels, online commercial content. Let's begin, shall we? Alright, let's go ahead and open up DaVinci. Okay. Sorry it's taking so long here. Go ahead and bring it over. All right. Okay. Now if we go to the media tab, select your footage. Today I'm selecting footage from red.com. As you can see here, it's a cowboy just staring out the barn at 23.976. Here are the stats. It's a 6K video footage. Let's go ahead and first let's set up our settings just to show you what I do when I color grade. This is going to be a very loose tutorial. This is my second time doing this and I just want to make sure I get this right. So let's go ahead, change the time frame rate and the playback frame rate to match the footage in the master settings. In the video format, let's do the same thing. And what I like to do is change the data values to full. This increases the exposure and color range of the footage. Let's go to color management, color science. I like to change to ACES. Always want to use the latest version here. Now I could go with the input device transform like red color. Not sure what they used for this one. Let's see, Red Dragon. Yeah, let's pick something different, right? Let's go with Red Log. Why not? The output's definitely going to be Rec 709 and the latest, which is AP1. Let's go ahead and hit save. As you see, it changes the color here. We're going to right click, add into our media pool. Right click again. Let's clip attributes, go to full, hit OK. Yeah, it's looking a lot better already. We're going to right click, create new timeline using selected clips, hit OK. And if you go into the edit tab, you can see it is in our edit tab. Just to stretch it out, just play it back for you. Okay, it's pretty slow. Excuse the cough there. Let's go to our color. Let's begin our grade here. As you see here in the scopes, you see parade, waveform, vector scope, and histogram. What I normally use is 2 monitors, but for in this instruction, we're going to have to go ahead and use 1. Now, the first thing I like to do is white balance all my footage. So I'm going to right click on the node here, and these are nodes. If you're not familiar with DaVinci Resolve, these are nodes. Okay, so we're going to right click node label, white balance. We're going to look at our scopes here, and we're just going to bring the green and the blue highlights up just a bit, just so it matches nicely. Let's go ahead and expand our view. We're going to go into the curve selection. Actually, we're going to go into the color wheel selection here. Go to hit the select the middle small button. In the offset, we're going to raise the green. And you can see it brings down the red channel and brings up the green. Bring it up just a tad more. Same thing with the blues. Let's go ahead and bring it up. And it's looking a lot better. Let's bring it down just down right there. All right, so if we do Alt D, which turns off the node, you'll see before and after, before and after. Show you that once again, before and after. Okay, next, let's go to our exposure, give it some lift. We're gonna right click. I love to label my nodes to know exactly what it is I'm doing, how I'm doing it, but I separate it. Think of it as layers in Photoshop. Every time you click a new adjustment layer, it does each individual thing, so you can decide what you want to do. Just gonna lower. Okay. 1 second, sorry about that. Right click, node label. One moment, just adjusting my settings here. Okay, right click, node label. We're gonna call this exposure. Hit enter. Okay. Let's turn it back on. Let's go ahead and expand our view because we're gonna work on this node. So I'm just gonna lift the darks a little bit, give it lift here. One thing I should mention is that I like to cap out my highlights and my darks for broadcast, YouTube, anything being displayed online. So this way the blacks aren't crushed and the highlights aren't overexposed. If you click the settings option here in your parade scopes, you'll see in the reference levels, I have it set to 75, 832 for the highs and lows. All right, let's go back. Again, I lifted it. You're gonna see in your lower left contrast. I'm just gonna go ahead and just pick it up here. Just contrast it a little bit. 1/160. And then if you see this, you see rows here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different rows. It's cut up into a grid. The skin tones usually live in this area here in the second row here, vertical row. So what I'm gonna do is just give it a little bit of a lift. You can see he's looking better already. And let's just contrast it a little more. I'm gonna go into channel 2 here. You have channel 1, channel 2 in the lower left. And then you're gonna see shadows and highlights. What I'm gonna do, the computer's a little slow, please bear with me. If you double click on the word, it brings it back to 0. So we're gonna go left, maybe bring it down to 10. Let's bring our highlights down just as well, just to flatten out that curve. That looks a lot better. If we do Alt D, turns off that node so we can see what we did previous. Okay, so there's the contrast. Looking pretty good. Now let's go ahead and create another node, which I like to call saturation. We're gonna right click, label the node, saturation. Hit enter. Now there's various ways you can oversaturate or bring up the saturation in your footage. There's saturation here for saturation. Let me go ahead and expand this window so you guys can see. We'll go ahead and double click on the word sat to zero it back down. You can go to channel 2 and there's color boost, which brings it up as well. We're going to ahead and double click. But what I like to use is the RGB mixer. DaVinci Resolve is a 32-bit float system. You can't destroy footage. You can keep adding nodes, and it's just very, very flexible and very generous. And it's mathematical based. So again, using RGB mixer for saturations, this is just a step that I do to increase my saturation. So here's your red output. Let's go ahead and hit this half circle with the arrow to reset. You can go ahead and play with each channel just to see what it does. You know, every channel does something just a tad different. But since we're in the red channel output, we're gonna increase it all the way. Same with the green output and the blue output, all the way. And as you can see, it is saturated. Okay, I'm using Alt D to just to show you, just turn on and off the node. Let's go ahead and stretch out that window again. I'm going to use the key window here, icon, as I'm selecting. You're going to see key output. If you hit 0, this basically turns off the node as well. But we can control its saturation levels and just bring it up. Also slightly to a comfortable level here. Let's do 420. I love 420. Okay. Alt S. Oh. Let me shrink the node here. I think I added too many nodes. Let's go ahead and get rid of this one. Hit delete. Okay, now let's fix some of the skin tones and color on this. So I'm going to right click node label because you have to node them. I do hue because I'm going to change a couple things. Usually more related to skin tone and overall look. So I'm going to go to channel 2 here on the bottom left here, the channel 1, channel 2. In the temperature control, you have cool and warm, just like any camera, any software using Photoshop. You can go increase it right to get it real warm. Back to 0, you double click on the word temp, or you can go left and make it really cool. What I like to do is make it warm. Let's go ahead and increase this window so you guys can see. And the reason why I name it hue, because we have to fix the skin tones. A lot of cameras like Panasonic, Sony, they don't have the color science the way Canon does. So it usually tends to lean either green or magenta, and we normally have to fix this. So he's looking, I guess, a little green to me. Alright, so let's go to channel 1 here on the lower left. And let's increase it to like 52. I normally work between 50 and 52. So for this tutorial, let's exaggerate a little bit, go to 52. And if you see here, his jacket is very saturated. Let's turn it off, Alt D. Make sure we're working on the right one. Yeah, we're working on hue here. Just increases. Let me make sure what I did was correct. Yeah, it increased it. Okay, now let's correct this saturation in the reds. So we're going to go into our curves layer, into hue versus saturation. Very hard for me to say. So we're going to go ahead and select the skin tones. Make 3 selections here. Let's pick his face. Okay. I really like to go into the magentas too, just to bring it down, just in case. Let's go ahead and delete this one by right clicking on your mouse. Click on the skin selected. Hovering over the word saturation, you see the left and right arrow pop up. We're just going to go ahead and bring it down to a comfortable level. I usually like to work between 70 and 75 when it comes to the red channels. Okay, let's go to hue versus hue and just kind of change the blues in there. I'm going to exaggerate a little bit in a second. Let's zero this out by double clicking on hue rotate. Select another level and let's just drag the blue tone up. Now if you look at the upper right corner here, you're going to see it shift in tone. So I'm just bringing it up. I normally stick between 20 to 25. Just manually enter 25 for this tutorial. It's Alt S. Oops. Let's minimize this window. Let me delete this node for now. I just want to turn this on and off. Alt D, before and after. Alright, so it's looking pretty snazzy here. Alright, let's get a teal orange look here. We'll go ahead and add another node. Selecting Alt S. Let's label it grade. So we can do just various things here. Going back to the curves, working on a linear adjustment here. And if you see next to it where it says edit, you have RGB. R is the red channel isolated, green is the green channel isolated, and blue doing the same. If you select Y, it selects all of it and you can control it as an S curve. Let's maximize this window. Let's go ahead and reset this. But you see what I'm saying? it just controls the overall image. But we want to give it a nice grade, so let's go into the red channel. Let's bring the darks, usually live down here, and the highlights here. So think down and up, you know, highlights up here. If you worked in Photoshop Lightroom, then you understand how the curve adjustments works. We're in the red channel now, so I'm going to lower the darks, bring it in to give it more of a teal feel here. It's looking pretty good. Let's go into the blues, maybe give it a little lift. There we go. Bring a little blue in there. His face is looking a little cool. I'm gonna go ahead and select on it. I don't want it that cool. And you're gonna see your RGB split here as well. You're gonna see a hollow stroked outline blue dot. That's just letting me know it's activated. And it selected this point in the grid because it was his face. So we're just gonna make it warmer by bringing it down just a tad. There you go. It's looking a little bit on the green side, but that's fine. Okay. Let's go to our color wheels here and let's go to the first dot in the color wheel setting. You have your lift, which, as you can see, controls the overall exposure of your dark channels there. We're gonna go ahead and reset this. And if you look at lift here, it does the same. So if we increase our blue channels here, the opposite of blue is yellow. We're gonna go ahead and reset this as well. This works very subtly in the blue channels, as you can see. And this is your log settings here, primary bars and primary wheels. So let's stick over here, maybe, yeah, there we go. It's looking pretty nice. Just give it a nice subtle feel there. Not too much. Maybe a little more exaggeration. Blue channels here in the darks. Let's go ahead and bring some of his skin tones back. It's just raising it too much. It's easy to overdo it in DaVinci. It's just very sensitive. That's what makes it such a great program. Let's go into blues. Just lower the highlights a little bit. It's just looking a little blue. Let's go into channel 2, temperature. Let's just warm it up a little bit, bring it back down. There we go. Now what's great about DaVinci is you can keep adding nodes and keep color grading to your heart's desire. It doesn't crush at all. You're not going to get pixelations or artifacts. It's just a beautiful program. It does so much. Okay, so now we have our grade. It's looking pretty decent. Let's add another exposure node. Let's do Expo 2. Just give it a little left. Let's maximize it so you guys can see it. Go to Y. Let's just bring it up just a tad there. It's looking great. And it's peaking outside my normal levels, but we can bring that back just a little bit. Okay, it's looking pretty good. Let's see, what else do I want to do here? It's looking pretty decent. Maybe we should fix his skin tones a little bit. Right click, node label, call it skin. Enter. Hit the qualifier here. And let's choose his face. Okay, let's turn that on by selecting the magic wand tool. Let's maximize this window so you guys can see what I'm doing here. And let's bring the low down. Bring the high all the way up. Or down. Because we want to isolate his face a little bit. Now his jacket leans toward those tones, so there's not much we can do in regards to that. Just trying to qualify within his skin tone range. Just bring it down. Okay. Luminance. Let's just lower it. Yeah, there we go. Let's isolate it just a little bit more. Let's denoise it. Alright, there we go. A little extreme. We just want that graininess out just a little bit. Let's clean the blacks a little bit more. Clean the whites to expand his skin tones. Let's give it a nice blurry radius. That's good for now. Now let's just fix that. I see blue in his face, so if you can see how it just warms it up a little more, we're just bringing it down just a tad there. He's got a lot of blues in his nose where the blood vessels go around his eyes, so we'll just select here. So it's telling me it's there, so we're just gonna bring it down just a tad, and that made a huge difference already. So let's go ahead and turn off the qualifier, maximize the window, and if we do Control D, Control D turns off that node, so we can see what we did here, and his skin tones are looking a lot better. He looks a lot less blue, but it doesn't affect the rest of the blue in the scene. Okay, let's see, can we let's see, if we do Alt P, let's see what this does really quick. Okay, let's Control Z again. Let's do Alt L. Please bear with me, I'm just trying something a little bit different. Let me see what we can do here. I just want to do something a little bit different. Let's see. What is it we want to do here? Parallel. Let's reset this node grade. Let's go here to the bottom. We created a parallel node, I believe. A layer node. So a layer mixer. So let's go ahead, select the bottom layer. Let's give it more of a teal look, I guess. Let's exaggerate it a little bit. Let's just do that. Let's go on top. Select your qualifier. Select the face. Let's hit this again. Just do it really dirty, nothing too serious here. Just lower it down. Denoise, just increase it. I'm just working quickly, just to kind of show you what the effect does here. Okay. Let's expand the view so you guys can see what I'm doing. Okay, I don't know what I'm doing. One moment, give me a chance here. I will fix this. Maybe it's parallel. Let's make this a parallel. So let's create another node. Alt P for parallel. Let me move this a little bit. Just do this here. Just back on top. Ah, there we go. So we're using a parallel node. Okay, let's turn this off for now. Whoop. Control Z, Alt D, oh, Control D. Let's go back down here, reset node grade, expand our viewer, just create a quick teal look. We're gonna go right on the temperature to make it cool, and then just bring the tint down to bring a little more greens. Minimize our window. Okay. Go back to the top. Control D to activate. Let's hit the magic wand up here so we can see what we're blending. Go to the qualifier here. All right, let's change the width. Let's bring it down. Maybe 0.5. Yeah, 0.5, 0.4. Soften that up a little bit. Bring the highs. There we go. Bringing in the highs a little more. Just to soften it up. Let's denoise. About 4. Clean the blacks up. To 9. Bring back the whites. Just a little more. Blur it out. A lot. Okay. Okay, let's select his nose again to bring some of that blue out of there, make it a little warmer. Look at it, just a tad green, but that looks a lot better. Hit the qualifier. Okay, he's looking fantastic. Let's select the bottom layer and just bring the output gain down. You can do this by just hovering over the word gain or the numbers and just moving it left. 0 basically turns it off, and then we'll just bring it back up. It's looking good. Okay, we'll do Control D, and it's looking a lot better. Let's minimize this window. This is a parallel node. What's good about DaVinci is you can compound them. Create compound node, right click. You can show compound node, and let's go back to untitled project. Right click, node label, call this parallel node. That's where your look is, but again, you can keep adding nodes to create a different look each time. Okay, let's see what else I want to do to this. Let's create a vignette, our beloved. Well, I don't think we need a vignette for this one, but let's just show you how I do my vignettes. So we'll just go ahead and Alt S, create a new node, right click, node label, vignette, enter. Okay, we're gonna select the window here. You're gonna choose a circle icon. Let's maximize this window so you can see what I'm doing. I'm gonna go ahead and feather it out as much as possible, stretch it out as well, and probably put it over his face like this. Now you can invert this mask, and I'll show you what this does in 2 seconds. Let's go ahead and just exaggerate what it does here. Let's go back into the window here. So the white is showing me that the center white dot is affecting everything that's in the center of the circle. We can invert this by just clicking on it. Now everything on the outside is affected. We can right click on this dot and zero everything back out and just darken it just a tad for the vignetting. It's looking good. Let's go ahead and bring the highlights of this door down, making him more exposed. Gives a little more drama, because that's what we're all about, right? Right click, let's do vignette 2. Hit the mask window, scroll down. You have different types of qualifiers here, or masking options. The most that I use is usually the circle and this gradient one. To maximize the window, because you can create a large gradation of light change by just increasing this arrow here. So we're gonna go probably to his jacket there. go to the curves option. Again, you can always do shadow, just double click, or you can just change your curve levels here. I'll just change the curve levels a little bit. Okay, let's go back here. Maybe let's circle it a little more. Bring closer to his hat here. More even. Let's do Control D to turn that off. Maybe we need to bring it back more so we can bring his face in more. Let's go right under the brim of his hat. Looking a lot better. There we go. I'm liking that. It's looking pretty good. If we do Alt D, it turns every node off so we can see before and after. Before and after. Just checking. Right. Minimize this window. And now let's work on this base exposure levels here in the darks. We don't want it to clip or artifact when we export this video or upload it to YouTube or any other video format that you use to share with your client or your audience. So we're going to create another node, Alt S, call it Polish, Polish. In your curves window, you're going to see low and LS. I'm not certain what that means exactly, but I know it controls the black here, and I'll show you. So if we clip this to 100, it just caps out completely, just cuts to dark. Let's maximize this window so you can see. If we double click back to 0, look at the left side or behind the gentleman here, the details are back to normal. So if we increase this, it starts capping out pretty bad, and there's a loss of detail. But I like to set it right here on the level lines. Again, here are my lows, or actually, yeah, it's on my lows at 75 exposure levels. So I'm going to increase that down, usually about 92. And now I'm going to give this a lift on the LS, and you can see here it's bringing back a lot of that detail because we don't want to clip it too much, so we'll keep it at 30. And if you look at the highlights, I believe we can do the same. You can raise the HS to 100 and then just bring this down to 0. And there you have it. Now if you wanted to put a LUT on your footage, you can. Just create another node. We'll do Alt S, right click, node label, LUT, enter, right click, go down to LUTs here. These come included with DaVinci Resolve. I am using a free version of DaVinci Resolve. It is an older version. Again, I haven't upgraded my computer hardware or software, like my CPU with the new Ryzen's or my OS like Windows 10. I'm still running Windows 8, but I can still obviously do 4K plus footage, no problem. So again, let me show you how I do this. So we're at the LUT node. We're going to select it, right click, go to LUTs, 3D LUT that comes with the software, go to film looks. D65 is pretty awesome. It gives you a very teal orange look. It's very contrasty. So you can change that too by just taking contrast and bringing it back down. We'll bring it down to like 700. Go to the keying window here, and its output, again, 0, basically turns that node off, and we'll just raise it just a tad, just to use that look in LUT, just to show you what it does. And there you have it. Your final look, we'll do Alt D to turn everything off. So this is before, and this is after. Let's raise the saturation just so I don't know what it looks like on YouTube, but it may be a little washed out. So we'll just exaggerate it for now. Key it all the way up. Let's maximize this window. And there you have it. And I know what you guys are saying here. Look at all that artifacting red dots. Well, yeah, I overstretched it. So, oh, another thing you do, let's go to polish. You can increase your saturation to 60. Go to your color boost and then bring it down the same amount you brought it up. So level 10. And what it does is it keeps blacks black and whites whites on that end of everything. Let's go ahead and saturation key. Let's bring it down. Get rid of some of that, those red dots there that we're not liking. But anyway, here's your example of before and after, before and after. All right, guys, thank you for joining me today. This concludes our live stream, and I want to say thank you for those who joined me and took the time out to watch me. Hopefully you found this useful and that my audio decibels were pretty good. Okay, thank you.